And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Castle Ravenloft is one of the biggest releases of the year from Avalon Hill, and it's basically Dungeons & Dragons Castle Ravenloft. It's for those who like the role-playing genre, this is a familiar setting. This is basically supposed to be a board game version of Dungeons & Dragons. Now, is it? It's certainly family-friendly, it's certainly easy to play, and it absolutely looks amazing. How does it play? Let's look at it. At the beginning of the game, each player picks a hero. The Dwarf Cleric, the Human Ranger, the Wizard, the Rogue, or the Dragonborn Fighter. Each of these heroes that you pick has some characteristics. You can see their AC, which is basically, for those of you who haven't played Dungeons & Dragons before, that's your defense, your hit points, your speed, how many squares you can move, and surge value. Surge value is something new. And that means if you die in the middle of the game, or your hit points go to 0, you can use your surge, and that's how many hit points you get back. Now, your team only has a certain amount of surges, 2 for most games, and so once you've used up the last surge and someone goes down to 0 hit points, the game is over. You also get a special ability, and you get powers. Now, this is what's interesting here. It says here, for example, you can use the following power cards. You get Dragon's Breath, you get 1 utility power, 2 at-will powers, and 1 daily power. So in front of you, you're going to put the different cards that you have matching the powers. Now you have more powers than you can choose from. For example, it says as the fighter that you get 1 utility power, but there's 3 that you can pick between. You can take Bodyguard, Get Over There, or Unstoppable. You get 2 at-will powers, and you have 3. Cleave, Tide of Iron, and Trapping Strike. And you get 1 daily power, and again you have 3 choices: Brute Strike, Precise Strike, and Come and Get It. Now, the daily powers and the utility powers are usually cards that you get to use one time. If you notice here at the bottom it says flip this card over after you use the power. So you can use it one time and turn them over. But it's the at-will powers, these are the ones that you can use throughout the course of the game. And you have to realize, and this may seem a little odd, you don't really get a lot of equipment in this game. Instead, it's as assumed, you're already armed up, you're ready to go, you're just fighting your way through the monsters to get to where you are. Your fighting will be done with your at-will powers and occasionally your daily and utility powers. Now, besides the rule book, which, by the way, I like how it was written out, but there's an adventure book, which gives you different adventures that you can partake in, and there's 12 of them, and I think that will keep you busy for a while, because they're very replayable. They'll play differently each time, and usually they will involve being on this starting spot. Here's your heroes, and if you notice, they're in dark blue plastic. The molds are good. They're not painted, but that's okay. I mean, the monsters come in various colors and various sculpts, and again, I think they're good. Yes, if you're someone who likes to paint, this will be lots of fun for you, especially when you get to the big ones that are included. Look at that flesh golem pushing everyone else out of the way until he's landed upon by a dragon. Now, one thing that's interesting is you'll be often pulling from a very big stack. This is just part of the stack of dungeon tiles. As you go and explore, these tiles will come up and they'll attach like a puzzle, and the arrow shows you which way to connect it. Some of them do special things, usually depending on the scenario. As you are moving along, the heroes move along from square to square, but the monsters will be moving from tile to tile, so they move faster. On your turn, basically, you have multiple things that you can do, but usually you're just going to move and then explore, find a new tile, which will always have this little skull marker on it. This shows you where a new monster might spawn, or probably will spawn. Once you explore, you bring out a new monster by turning over the top monster card. This will tell you their statistics, their AC, their hit points. Here's their attack value, the damage that they do, how much experience you get if you kill them. And then tactics. Basically, tactics works like this. It tells you how to move that monster. So, for example, the gargoyle tactics say, if he's within 1 tile of a hero, he'll move and attack that hero. Otherwise, if he's 2 tiles away, he just sits there and does nothing. Each monster has different things that they do depending. It's kind of like computer programming. So you don't need anyone to control the monsters, they just keep coming at you. If you don't explore a new tile and don't reveal a new monster, then you will have to turn over an encounter card. Encounter cards are completely random. You never know if they're going to show you a trap or some kind of event or something good sometimes. Well, usually it's pretty bad. When a player draws a monster, that monster will move and attack after their turn. And every time it's their turn again, that monster will move and attack until it's killed. And then they get the experience points for it. Experience points are used to cancel different encounter cards that come. Or if you're really lucky and you roll a natural 20 whenever you attack, a natural 20 means you roll a straight 20 with no bonuses added to it, you can use 5 experience to flip from your first level to a second level, which gives you better stats as you go throughout. Also, when you kill monsters, you will get treasure cards, which are not treasure in your ordinary sense. Usually they're just things that help you out. Like this one here. It says until the end of your next hero phase, each hero gets +2 speed. Or this one, an item that you can use one time to re-roll the die. Or this immediately gives you back 1 hit point. They're usually things that are played immediately. Players start with one of these at the beginning of the game. So that's basically it. There's some more to the game than that. Each scenario has different things, but you're moving through, you're trying to get to a certain point as you keep fighting off monsters that keep showing up, as you keep turning over tiles. If you decide not to fight these monsters and just sit around, then encounters will come and they'll force you to keep fighting, or they'll force you to lose hit points. Fighting is very, very simple. You're simply going to roll a 20-sided die, you add your attack value to it, and it needs to be higher than the AC of the monster you're attacking, or when the monster attacks you, it needs to be higher than your AC. So, here's what I like. Lots of variety amongst the monsters. Love the sculpts. Love the puzzles. Love how the monsters move. I like the different traps that are stowed. The game comes with plenty of tokens that are used for different things, including hit points and items that you might find that are useful. Or, if you're slowed down, you put those by your character and it explains exactly how to do it. It looks really good. It fits inside a very big box. Wonderful artwork. The best thing is probably the player customization on how you can pick the different cards for your character at the beginning. A very fun game, and it's very accessible to children. Okay, this is not a dungeon crawl, which seems weird because it feels like a dungeon crawl, but it really isn't because the monsters come pre-programmed in. I've read lots of complaints about the game. Some people don't like the fact that the monsters always get the drop on you. Whatever, it's their dungeon. I would assume that they would anyway. Some people told me that it's very similar to Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. I don't know. Haven't played that, but I'll just go by those who say that. It's similar to that. It's almost like a condensed, basic version of that. That's fine. I really enjoyed the game because it gives me the same feeling that other great cooperative games like Ghost Stories and Space Alert do, where stuff just keeps happening and we work together to stop it. This game really forces you to work as a team. The different characters have very different special abilities. The cleric and the wizard and the fighter all have different abilities, and sometimes you really want to have to stick that wizard, who shouldn't be in harm's way, you really stick him in harm's way just so that you can get a little bit farther through the dungeon. People talk back and forth, what special ability should I use now, but nothing is set in stone because there's always that rolling the dice and fighting. I played this with people and we had a blast because we just kept going and going and talking and monsters kept appearing. Maybe after 30 more games it might get boring, but I would assume that by that time Wizards would have an expansion with more monsters and such. Some people might be put off by the kind of complete randomness of the dungeons, but again, that really appeals to me in the sense that this is that sort of game where it's just cooperative. We fight off wave after wave of monsters and finally we win. It's not impossible, although some of those later scenarios, but those early scenarios are very winnable and they'll get your hopes up as you go to the next. Going to second level doesn't happen very often, and some people will say, where's my weapons? Where's my stuff? You got it. You just go in, you fight. You try to pick the best option. You almost always have more than one. This is a good game. Castle Ravenloft. I kind of went into it thinking, I don't know, is this going to be better than Descent? Completely different. Descent isn't even a game that I would compare with this game. This is a cooperative game. Descent, you're fighting another person, and it's more like an adventure-style game. This is adventure. I don't know. They're just different, and I like them both.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.